FCA worried about financially illiterate old men refusing robo-advice. The Financial Conduct Authority has raised concerns that financially illiterate, older men are most likely to refuse robo-advice, even though this group has a high chance of sitting within the advice gap. In an Insight article, published on its website on Thursday morning, the UK regulator outlined research it conducted with 1,800 individuals representative of the population that presented participants with advice from an algorithm. In 57% of cases the robo-advice was rejected, and this varied little depending on the quality of advice presented. But variations did occur depending on the demographics of those involved, with polarization at the extremes, whereby 30% of respondents refused every piece of advice recommended by an algorithm. Older, male and less financially literate. The FCA labeled this group a hardcore of refusers and said they tended to be older, male and less financially literate. The Insight article said, older consumers may be facing some of the most important financial choices of their life: how to use their pension freedoms, whether to opt out of certain pension schemes, consolidate pension pots, and perhaps plan for possible social care. They also have the smallest opportunity for correcting any poor judgments. The costs of mistakes among this group are high, both for themselves and for wider society. Proponents might be hoping that this is a group where robo-advice can offer broad and affordable solutions. But it may also be the group where robo-advice will face the most resistance. Similarly, 10% of respondents accepted every piece of advice offered up by the algorithm regardless of quality. One of the strongest predictors for whether a person was likely to accept the robo-advice was based on their general level of trust for large corporations. Those with high trust in large corporations accepted robo-advice in 70% of cases. Those with low trust in corporations accepted robo-advice only in 35% of cases. Women and people up to the age of 34 were also more likely to trust robo-advice. FCA jokes that men don't like asking for directions. The bulk of people who rejected robo-advice were most likely to turn to an advisor as an alternative, according to the FCA research. This was selected in 72% cases, with women more likely to choose this preference. Friends and family was the next most popular option, chosen by 21% of respondents, who were more likely to be young, of lower socioeconomic status, less trusting of banks, and have lower financial literacy. Although only 7% of robo-rejectors said they would prefer to rely on their own judgment, this group had a distinct demographic, according to the FCA, being more likely to be male and middle-aged, have trust in banks, and have higher financial literacy. It is hard to draw any clear conclusion from this. Aside from Mac, for more on this story, visit the news article link.